In the quiet hours after 2:30 in the morning, while most of Indiana slept, a faint glow began to appear in the windows of the Indiana State Hospital. What looked at first like a sliver of light soon revealed itself as something far more dangerous. Fire, moving slowly at first, then with a terrible certainty through the wooden confines of the woman's ward. It was not the first fire connected to the woman at the center of this story, and it would certainly not be the last. Her name, before newspapers replaced it with unease and the whispered pity of the Madhouse Bride, was Maude Ott. Long before she reached Indiana, Maude had been a patient at Weston State Hospital in Weston, West Virginia, a sprawling institution whose stone walls held generations of suffering. There she was diagnosed with epileptic psychosis, admitted, confined, and forgotten. One more patient lost in a system that saw symptoms more clearly than people. In August of 1942, Weston discharged her as cured. But what follows her story suggests that not every wound heals where it begins. After leaving Weston, Maude assumed the name Eileen Elliott. Under that identity, she secured work as an attendant at the Indiana State Hospital in Richmond, Indiana. There she met a fellow employee, James Ott, and the two married in December of 1942. And only weeks after the marriage, the first of several fires appeared along the path she traveled. February 9th, 1943, 2:30 a.m., Evansville State Hospital. Flames broke out with little warning. Orderlies tore through smoke-filled wards, desperate to reach those trapped inside. Patients in straitjackets screamed as fire swallowed their rooms. Others, barefoot and panicked, fled into the freezing night. Heat bent the old beams, and smoke twisted through narrow hallways never designed for escape. By dawn, 8 people were dead, 6 patients and 2 employees. Investigators found only fragments, accelerants in linen closets, matches in storerooms, and smoke rising from improbable spots. Nothing conclusive, nothing that pointed clearly to anyone. And Maude, quietly and efficiently, moved on. At the Ohio State Hospital in Toledo, unexplained fires appeared in storerooms and closets, small in scale, but disturbingly similar in origin. Then, at the Loganville State Hospital in Indiana, the same quiet signs emerged, fires that started where no fires should, that grew faster, and that bore the same troubling characteristics. And this brings the story back to that night at Logansport. The Indiana State Hospital at Logansport had been built in a time where large state institutions relied on wood, heavy varnish, and long corridors that breathed with age. Routine governed everything: meal times, ward checks, and the restless quiet of troubled sleep. But on this night, that routine was shattered. The fire spread quickly, feeding on dry timber in the forgotten corners of the woman's ward. Staff woke to smoke rising in sheets. Patients, startled, half-dressed, clung to nurses who themselves struggled to navigate the choking maze. Firefighters arrived to collapsing ceilings, narrowing hallways, and a building fighting against them at every turn. By sunrise, the ward was ruined. At the center of the investigation stood one young woman whose past had never fully been connected in time. The unrecorded psychological struggles no file ever captured. When questioned, Maude confessed to only setting the fires at Logansport. She denied Evansville, and she denied Toledo. But those who followed the evidence, the interviews, the inconsistencies, the repeated patterns, believed she had lit far more than one match. Over the decades, the story of the Madhouse Bride slipped from headlines into memory. Staff recounted it with somber caution. Residents remembered the glow in the sky that night. Her name faded, but the unease remained. What survives now is only a thin trail of brittle documents, hospital logs typed in fading ink, fire reports written in the dry language of bureaucracy, and newspaper clippings with edges starting to crumble. Together they sketch a portrait of a woman shaped by confinement, distress, and the limits of an era that never knew how to understand her. In the end, the fires she left behind reveal something larger than one troubled life. They remind us how suffering, quiet, misunderstood, and resolved, can travel unnoticed through institutional walls until it forces the world to look. Even now, decades later, her story lingers, the smoke still rising from questions we can never fully answer.